All right, Coach. Coach, would you prefer I call you Alfred or Al? I want to make sure I respect that.
Good.
Good. Okay, Coach. Coach Al Mitchell. For anyone out there who doesn't know, Coach, you've been in Olympic boxing, a massive piece of USA boxing since the '80s. You were the coach of the 1996 Olympic team. You've been on the board for forever. You're a wealth of knowledge, and one huge part of that too is you come from North Philadelphia, which anybody who knows is really where some of the best, most cagey, intelligent fighters come from. So I'll ask you sort of the redundant question. What do you think it is about boxing in Philadelphia that's so different than anywhere else? And what did you learn, in that stage of your career?
I remember a long while back, I was a kid and I heard somebody say it's only three things in Philadelphia: churches, bars where you go and get drinks, and boxing gyms. In the old days, it was gyms in the churches. You go at the bottom of the church, you could train in a gym. All over North Philly, South Philly, and West Philly. And boxing was considered enough during school. I remember guys like Jimmy Young, Benny Briscoe, who fought one of the best fights I ever seen in my life, Cyclone Hart. I remember it was the best fight I ever seen. I remember Jimmy Young. A lot of people thought he beat George Foreman and Muhammad Ali. So many good boxers and good coaches, and they taught the fundamentals, And the other thing was, kids in the boxing gym was 7, 8, 9, and 10 years old. Kids. And I remember in the old days, especially where I was at 23rd and Powell, North Philly. So Joe Frazier, I remember we run in the park, Joe Frazier, me, Jimmy Young, a couple other guys. And I remember I met boxers come from all over the world to spar and train with them guys from Philadelphia, all over the world. I seen boxers come from New York, Trenton, New Jersey, to spar or box the boxers in Philadelphia. And in the old days, a lot of people don't know this, but if you won the Pennsylvania state title, that's 15 rounds, you was put in the top 10. That's how good Philadelphia boxers was. If you won the Pennsylvania state title, professional, you was put in the top 10 of the world.
Do you think a lot of the concepts of the core fundamentals and the IQ and all those things, does that come from just a lineage of great boxers and trainers sort of just starting out so early in Philadelphia, and then in the '80s there was sort of a boom, like with the middleweights there's definitely a boom, and you have George Benton as well, and you have obviously Joe Frazier as a heavyweight. Like, is there something about the way that things are done there that are different than, say, California or another state?
Well, in the old days, I remember I never weighed over 120. I had a lot of fights. I only lost one. But I remember they was going to give me $250 to turn professional. But I had to go to California. Like big boxers over there and everything. But they were smaller boxers. So that's why I never turned pro. In Philadelphia, and heavyweights was the dream. You consider a heavyweight. All over one, consider a middleweight. In Philly, welterweights, weights, and heavyweights was what you wanted to be. If you was a funny other weight, you wouldn't even turn pro. And it's funny,
Yeah.
23rd and Powell, where I was at in North Philly, right across the street was Champ's Gym. You go up the steps, and the guys that box amateur 23rd and Powell, when they turn pro, they go right across the street to Champ's Gym. And you go right up these long steps.
Wow.
But the amateur was at 23rd and Powell. Joe and all us guys. I had a cousin that was blind from a kid, Gypsy Joe Harris. Matter of fact, he was on the front of the Marine magazine. And I still got the magazine. He was my cousin. He fought everybody. His record was 33-1. And he'd been blind in one eye from a kid. And he recite the board when he had to go with his eyes. But he was blind in one eye. When they found out he was blind, they stopped him from boxing. And his record was 33-1, I think it was. It might have been maybe, but he was blind in his right eye, I think it was. And he fought Emil Griffin and lost a decision. His record was, he had 33 wins. He was my cousin.
And Emil was the one lost.
Yeah. But he had learned to recite the eye chart. But he was blind from a kid. Was fighting in
There's so many tricks.
And that's what happened.
Jeez. Wow. So that's one thing I'm interested about, because you had explained how guys would be amateurs, you know, they'd come up the ranks, and when it was time to turn pro, they'd simply cross the street to another gym. You know, one thing I always think about is, as a trainer, it's really hard to make a champion. It's really hard, and a lot of guys will spend years trying to get their one champion. Was it hard for the amateur coaches to give up a fighter and let him simply go across the street after all the years of hard work, or was that how they saw things?
Well, it's a lot of different things. Number one, I believe in his coach. I've seen coaches that never boxed a day in their life, took a guy championship. And he did that teaching the basics and not studying on the internet. I think the worst thing happened to these kids is the internet. This is why I always like Emmanuel Stewart. He did a lot of things like I did. We start kids. When we start kids, it's a different mindset. Back in Philadelphia, Mean Fred Jenkins, just before I started running the Olympic program, we had Marvin Garris that I went in Australia before 15 rounds. Glue Jones, Rockin' Rodney Moore, all these four big guys. We had them as kids, and we looked out for them, and we teach them the basics. We took our time. So we go to nationals. They finished 2 and 3. Brian Jones ended up winning the nationals. But we had a lot of 2s and 3s that won titles and everything. You got to care for the kid, look out for him, and understand. I remember some bouts. I put a kid in a bout, and I see that the guy way better than him, or my kid might get hurt. I stop. I stop there. I jump in and stop. But I remember sometimes at the nationals, I see guys get knocked down once or twice, and there's no way the kid can win. And the coach is still trying to get through the fight, trying to get the kid to win. In amateur, you go 3 rounds, you get beat up so bad in 1 and 2, you know. And I remember teaching my kids to box and move. So if the opponent is way better than them, I have them box and move. And we'll lose the fight, but he goes through it. He goes through to the 3rd round and everything. And usually a good coach or a coach, he can tell if his kid go win after the 1st or 2nd round. If he ain't gonna get hurt, it's a good learning experience. But you don't want your kid to get hurt. A boxer, to me, and a coach, they was like all my sons. Vernon, David Reid, Mike Nunley, Rodney Moore, all them kids. I had them as kids, so they like family. This is why I appreciate Emmanuel Stewart so much. He took kids He didn't took somebody else boxer, nothing like that. Guy that was 15 and old. He developed in his gym. Now he got so good, other kids that had 8 or 9 fights would come to him. But before that, all the gym was kids that he started from the beginning. And that's the same thing I did, you know? And that's the kid respect you. You like a dad to him. You got to treat him like he's your kid. Look out for his welfare and everything. I read something that Emmanuel put on about the reason he didn't turn pro, because he was a good boxer, was he didn't see no manager that he can trust. And that happens. I've seen it happen, you know. A funny story. A long while back, we had Choo Choo Charlie Brown, me and Fred, and Emmanuel had, I think his name was Jimmy Paul. Was it Jimmy? Might have been Jimmy Paul or something like that. He was a champion, and we had Choo Choo Charlie Brown was a champion. So I seen Emmanuel, we talked, and I said, you know what? We might have a super fight between these two. They're both champions. And he said, you know what, Coach? You're right. Let's put that on our agenda. I said, sure. Would you believe both of them next fight, both of them lost? And we call each other and we talk and we laugh about it. And then when I start running the NMU program,
It's fun.
Yeah, true story. When I started running the Olympic program at NMU up Marquette, Michigan, he was down Detroit. So he had a couple guys, and he asked me, could I send some guys down there to spar with him? So I sent a couple guys down there. Next thing you know, he turned a couple pro. He asked me, well, would you want some money? I say, no. Take care of the kid, make sure nothing happened to it. He had Jermaine Taylor that beat B-Hop. I think he beat B-Hop. Jermaine Taylor. He had a couple other guys, and they was guys I trained in the program and everything. And he look out for the kid. He make sure they got good money, you know. And a lot of times I train kids, and coaches offer me, well, will you bring them up? I say, sure, no problem. I wouldn't take no money or nothing, because I look out for the kid and everything. But everybody not like that. Everybody, it's a lot of coaches, they have good kids, but they let their ego get in there. And what I mean by that, they wanna win, and winning is everything to them. But winning shouldn't be everything to them. Develop your kid. You got to make him grow. Put him in good fights. Fights might be got a little better. Step up, amateur, so you can teach the kid. Make sure you don't overmatch him, and take your time with him. That's the thing about life. And don't let your ego get in there, your problem. And teach him the fundamental basics. You know, it's simple. Make them keep their hands up, work on the defense, keep their feet right, and look out for their welfare. That's what life's all about. I've been blessed, you know. I think about different kids. It's crazy how life is. Sometimes the best kids I got from nowhere. I remember I took a team up to the Junior Olympics up Marquette, and we drove up there. So I took some kids come to me and say, Coach, we lost. Can you take us to the airport? So I took them to the airport in Gwen. And when I look, it was a little kid, and he was sitting on the side. I say, you box in the Junior Olympics? He said, yeah, Coach, you know, I lost, you know. And I don't have no place to train. Well, I said, they're starting a training program up here, but you have to go to school and everything. He said, I missed my airplane. So I said, give me your number. I called his mother and told him that here, I'm going to take him back to the NMU Center, let him stay overnight, and I'll bring him back the next day. And he said, thanks. He hugged me. I said, they got a program here that you go to school, you be able to box. So a year go by, not even that long, 8 months. So they called me. And Dave Loves, who was the coordinator, white fella, come from Detroit, and started the program up there that boxers can go to school. First concept ever that they go to school. So he called me up and asked would I come up there. He said he got some good reports from Pat Nappy and a couple other guys from Philly that ran the boxing program. And they asked about me coaching because I help a couple kids. So he asked me when I come up for a couple months and tried. So I said, all right. So I came up, and the first person I see when I come up there was the young man that I call his mom and everything, and he's in the program. Now that young man ended up being my first national champion,
Yeah.
Vernon Forrest. He was an Olympian, my first Olympian, and my world champ, professional and amateur. And it just shows you how life is, you know? And it's funny, after the first year, it was so cold.
And what's it?
Sure, go ahead. What you could ask me?
No, go. You go ahead. I want to hear it.
Yeah, okay. My first year, it snowed so much, I say, I got to quit. I say, I'm from North Philly. We don't never get this kind of snow. You know, we in the UP, a couple miles from Lake Superior. It controlled the weather up here. So I'm Greg, pack my stuff. I say, I'm leaving. And all the boxers come up and say, Coach, please don't leave. They asked me not to leave. I say, all right, I'm going to try another year. So Dave Loves, the coordinator, say, it'll be better next year. Well, he lied to me. It was the first time, it was 1990, the first time the lake froze over in 100 years. The weather got even worse. He said, Coach, yeah, I lied. I wanted to keep you, you know. Now I got good with the kids and everything, so I ended up staying. And I still live up here in the UP, Marquette, Michigan. But when you talk about, yeah, go ahead.
The one thing I'm trying to understand. I was just gonna say the one thing I'm trying to understand is it's like a college program, like similar to like a D1 hockey or basketball. Like, is that what it was?
Yes.
It's just for any age group could come up there.
Well, they won in 18s and 19s and 20s. The second year, I brought 13, 14, and 15 years old in the program. And it was 14 sports: speed skater, wrestling, weightlifting. I'm the only one brought kids that young that time. And they live on a college campus against adults. And I brought 13 and 14. 3 years later, in the top 10, I got 6 athletes, kids. And that program developed over 800 national champs, 14 Olympians, 14 world champions, and over 800 and some national champions. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sorry, 900 and some national champions. Now, don't get me wrong. 3 or 4 of them, like DeVarrell Williams, he won 4 or 5. Roberto Benitez, 4 or 5. LaChon Shepard, Vernon, the second year, I think it was 2001, he beat Shane Mosey in amateur to win it. And he fought 4 national champions, the Golden Glove champion, the past national champion, and in the championship, he fought the guy from Colorado that was the champion. He beat all of them and ended up being a national champion. You know, outstanding program it was.
Now, were you recruiting all these kids from like a specific area, or did they came because of the program?
The first kid I brought in the program, Vernon Forrest was in when I told him about the program. I wasn't even coaching in the program then because I come back a couple of months. But once I'm in the program, the Junior Olympics going off, and I'm walking around, and I see this kid, Sean Shepard, that lost his first fight. He's sitting down. He about to cry. And I told him, I say, you know, we got a program. I watch your fight, and you did pretty good, you know. But don't feel bad because you lost and everything. And I got a program here that's going to school. But we talk to your coach. So I talked to Israel Costa. He said, sure, coach. He was from Wisconsin. He said, sure, coach. I want my kid to get an education. Israel Costa. I ended up getting 5 kids from him. I got Tion Shepard that won the Muhammad Ali Cup and a national champion. I got a couple guys from him. All of them did good. But the reason I went with him, a lot of kids didn't want to come in the program because they had to go to school. His kids wanted the degree, and all his kids. So I had to watch what I did in the program. And I remember the first 3 years, out of all the 12 sports, we was close to the bottom when it come to grades. And then about the 4th year was in the top 3. The 5th year, I think we had the highest grade point average. And that was a plus for boxers. And most of the boxers I got that I brought in the program had quit school. Especially, and I brought my own kid, David Reid. He was hanging on the corners. He wasn't even going to school. Jerome McIntyre, Edward Ferguson. Now, when I left Philly, they stopped going to school. The thing about the program is everybody not college material. I had to learn that. And what I mean, I put Abioni Miller, a kid from Ohio, I got 14. And I put him in, he got good grades in the high school, but he didn't want to go to college. I said, what you want to do? I want to fix cars. So I put him in the program in auto mechanics. And he won a scholarship doing that. It shocked me. Then I had a kid from Washington that really shocked me. He said, Coach, he said, I want to go and do hair. So he went in the program at NMU doing hair. So I always go and check on my guys. I said, I got to check on this son of a gun. He just going over there so he can look at the girls. He was the only guy in there. And I remember the lady told me, he do hair better than anybody else in here. And when I watched him, she said, come here. She had me watching him, and he was taking aluminum wrap and putting it in people's hair, the women's hair, rolling up, doing their hair and everything. I ain't had a clue what he was doing. He's exceptional. So when the program was over with,
how about that?
Yeah, he go back to Seattle. Now he owned 2 barbering schools that he do women hair and cut hair. You know, and that's when I started learning about other things, you know. A lot of those kids helped me to learn.
That's critical too, because I don't think.
Right. And LeChance called me about 3 years. He called me and said, Coach, my father's sick, my mother's dead. I got a brother in Tion Shepard. Can you bring him in the program? So I brought him in the program. I think he was like 14 or 15. 2 years later, he won the Goodwill game. All men there, won the nationals, won everything, and got unbelievable grades in the college system. It blew my mind. So when you think you know something, you're not good at other things. I learned so much from those kids. And that's what life about, making sure it ain't about the money. It's about getting those kids that 5 or 6 or 10 years, you look at them, and, excuse me, and they successful in life. And that's every birthday, I get 300 calls Wish me, hey, happy birthday, old man. Act like you know. How you doing? Still at it, and I laugh. I tell you one more funny story, then I'm going to let you talk. Tell me something. I'm sitting down. I got one spot left.
Sure.
And this kid come in. He's going to college here. He boxing idol. And he want to join the program. I say, no, nobody boxed there that's any good. I say, why is you coming here? Well, I'm going to the university. And I heard about your boxing program. I said, I don't have no more spots. 5 minutes later, the guy that I called me and said he's not coming in the program. I said, you lucky son of a gun. The kid called me. I said, I'm going to give you 1 semester. You got to show me you can box and that you go to school. The kid, the first year, didn't look like nothing. Second year, he just got better. Third year, and smart, great grades and everything. So he graduated, got a degree. He come to me, he said, Coach, I want to join the Army. I don't want to go higher in the school system. I said, all right. So I called my friend Abdullah. He's the head coach of the Army. And this is the 4th kid that I had that went in the Army, and all of them were successful. That way they can box in the Army too. They had a boxing pro, so
Yep.
Abdullah called me a couple months later and say, that kid is smart. He took the test. He's a lieutenant now. I say, whoa. Then the kid boxed. 2 years later, he makes the Olympic team. For USA. D-Ray Crane. He ended up being a lieutenant.
Oh.
Great grades and everything. Ended up being a lieutenant. And he didn't make the Olympic team, but he won the spot for USA to be on the Olympic team. Something happened, but it might have been because of his service and everything. But he got a couple homes now. He got a son that I met when I was in Colorado, wrestling, doing good. Smart guy, and did great in the service. Then the stories, 10 and 15, I got so many stories that young guys did so good out of that program. And that's my feather, and that would make me proud,
That's very different. A lot of coaches they fight for that championship, and when they get there, that's the mountaintop. It sounds like your mountaintop has much less to do with that, and more so, what is their life after boxing? Who do they become as a man as they grow up?
Yeah, the coordinator of the program, Dave Loves, he was a white young man from Lower Michigan, and he developed the program. I got to take my hats off to him. To come from Lower Michigan, then in Slowland, that's what I call Marquette, Michigan, Ballet, and he started a program. And he hired me. He said, I need a coach. He said, I coach a little bit back lower, but I'm not that good a coach. So he said, I'm going to take care of the paperwork. You do the coaching. And when I first come here, we didn't even have a ring. We trained in where a swimming pool was, and they built a ring in it. Not a ring at first, but made it flat, and we trained on the mat. Our second year was our first nationals champion. Then the third year, I got 3 or 4 kids ranked. Then the 4th or 5th year, I had, in the top 10, I had 6 athletes. From then on, we just got famous,
Yeah. So what is the difference of, between coaching one fighter for a big fight and coaching a whole entire team? How does the dynamic change when you have a whole team of fighters like that?
I'm going to tell you a funny story. We at the Nationals, probably my 3rd year there, and I got 8 guys No, I had 9 guys in the semifinals. Now, then I had 3 fights in the semifinals. So that night I talked to them all. I say, listen to me. This never happened before. I think a long time the Army might have 5 or 6. I say, your bouts can't be close. You got to step up. And don't think because you won the first round, you won the fight. Keep boxing, keep going, and saying to yourself, it ain't over with till it's over with. That night, to get in the championship, I had 8 athletes. Now, 12 weight classes, I got 8 in the championship. So that night, the 1 or 2 that lost was close decisions. And I told them all, I say, now rest up good. I'm gonna wake y'all up about 6 in the morning, check your weights. But listen, this is when y'all really gotta step up. Never been this many in the championship. And I heard people talking about that the school program is trying to take over amateur boxing. We end up with 6 or 5 that won the national. I was just shocked at that. And the ones that lost, I grab them and hug them. And I had a kid, I remember K. Rise. He fought 106 pounds. He never weighed over 100. I used to put quarters in his pocket, a roll of quarters in both pockets. True story, you know? And he lost, and he was crying.
That's so crazy.
So his coach was a good friend of mine, Ben Stewart, one of the best coaches from St. Louis. And he sent his grandson, who was him, to me. And I remember every night calling him, I say, he's still in. So when he lost, I called him and say, he lost a close decision. The guy was just better than him. He said, thanks, coach. And me and him go way back to Ohio State Fair, you know? And the next year, the teachers, I go to schools, I always check over my guys. And all the teachers loved the kid, my 106 pounder. They tell me how good and smart he is and everything. So, you know, he was a double sword. Same for LaChance and Tiance. They got degrees and they won nationals. You know, I sit back, I'll tell you a funny story. I was out Colorado. I got a woman, a young lady, Mikaela Mayer, that's a world champion. She's been with me for 15 years. And so I'm out there training her. We're going to go to Liverpool about 2 years ago to Liverpool to fight. So LaChance Shepherd came in the gym and brought his son. And I was showing him some stuff. I'm laughing because I remember LaChance was that age. I said, boy, I'm getting old, you know? So
Yeah.
thing. And LaChance, great lead, he hugged me. He said, Coach, you don't know what you did for me, my brother. We both got excellent jobs. We both got degrees. We both doing good. So his brother came in a day later and hugged me, and we talked and everything. Those is memories. To remember them as kids, to see him box all the way up. And I still remember when I first met him at the Junior Olympics in Marquette, he lost the first bout. He was sitting down crying. And see this young man end up winning everything and in life got a degree and doing great. And his brother the same, got a degree and everything. Them things is the things. Or Roberto Benitez just travel all over, motivated speaker. I got him at 13. And it's funny because during that time,
How do you?
Hispanics wouldn't come in the program. And Johnny Woolrich, the coach from New York, sent him to me. Roberto Benitez. He was 13 years old. And his second fight, amateur fight with me, I jumped in and stopped it. The guy was just too much better than him. And he was crying, "Don't stop it, coach." I said, "I'm the coach." He was going to quit the program. He called Johnny. Johnny said, "I watched the fight. Coach was right." He stayed with me, ended up getting a silver medal in the Goodwill Games, won the Nationals, the double eliminations, and now he's a motivated speaker at a couple colleges and everything. Those are stories. A lot of good
That's
people in
amazing.
boxing.
So I'm going to ask something that I think a lot of people, this could be really helpful for them. How did you get to a point where ego clearly wasn't a part of the process, where you're strictly focused on the kids and not, all like you said, like all the money that could come at the end of, a very successful boxer's amateur career? Where does that come from?
Couple coaches. Georgie Benton. I used to, Lou Duva had a gym when he got all them great guys. I think it's from '84, it might be that team, that all them Olympians that got medals. Was gym was in North Philly, down 18th Street. And Georgie Benton was the coach. And Georgie Benton was a legend in North Philadelphia. So I'm down Atlantic City with this young lady. I'm at the casino. B.B. King there. I go to see him. And the Commodores sing, because I remember the song they sang was "She's a Brick House." And I'm sitting there at the show. Georgie Benton come up to me and say, "Lil Fred, my assistant coach ain't coming up here. Would you carry the spit bucket for me?" Now I'm a young coach. To carry the spit bucket is like an honor to me, And this is way back. So I carry the spit bucket and I'm listening to Georgie with how he's talking to the kid and everything. So he gave me, I think it was $5. I said, "No, you ain't got to give me that." He said, "Here." He ended up giving me $10. And 2 weeks later, I go down to the gym and watch how he trained the guys. And I watch how Lou Duva stand back and let Georgie run everything. And I remember he had no ego. He's working with the kids and everything. And then the other guy was, how I got good help off of that. About a year later, Lou Duva asked me to bring some of my boxers so they can spar some of his guys down there. So we had Rockin' Rodney Moore, Marvin Garris, Andre Sharp, and Brian Boogaloo Jones. And I took them down there and he sparred with them. And I learned so much from them guys. And then a couple years later, my friend Bowie Fisher, he trained Bernard Hopkins. He got him out of jail and trained him, B-Hop. Matter of fact, if you look at B-Hop's first title fight, I'm carrying the spit bucket. Bowie Fisher flew me from Marquette.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Bowie Fisher flew me in from Marquette to work with him and B-Hop, Bernard Hopkins. So I just stayed back. I'm listening and I'm learning. And he was telling me, do this and do that. A lot of people think it's bad carrying a spit bucket. Carrying that spit bucket, I learned so much from the guy. And then, because you carry the spit bucket, a lot of them thought they didn't have to give you a lot of money. They give me $5 or $10. But my mother rent was $5 a month then. So I didn't mind because I learned so much from them guys.
Oh, wow.
But Bowie Fisher flew me in from Marquette. I'm running the Olympic program up here to work the corner and to work with him in a training camp. And I learned so much from him. I listened to them, him, Georgie Benton, I learned so much from. I used to go to that gym and watch him and listen to him. And then I realized how coaching is almost like being a psychologist. You know what to tell the athlete to make him do better. You know how to tell him to keep his hands up. And I remember at times, I said, Georgie, I never seen you holler before, but why you holler at him? He said, if I talk low to him, that don't help him. But when I holler at him or shout at him, he worked different. He said, everybody different. And I remember something Georgie learned me, and I still use it. He said, little Fred, that's what they used to call me. You got to learn to treat everybody different, but at the same time, treat everybody the same. And it took me a couple years before I realized that. One day I'm training a kid and I'm showing him this, and then I showed him another way, and I thought I jumped on him, and then it hit me. Maybe 10 or 15 years later, that's what Georgie meant. Treat everybody the same, but treat everybody different. You can't put everybody in the same box.
What does he mean when he says that?
Well, some guys, you treat everybody the same, meaning you give them respect, you tell them how to do it, you learn them the basics, the things, right? But you got to also know their weak points and their good points. But you treat everybody nice, but you learn how to treat everybody the same. Don't try to put everybody in the same box. Everybody's different. And you got to figure ways, everybody's different, to show them how to do the jab. You got to look at their feet and see what is wrong. Then you say to yourself, if you do it this way, it'll get. Sometimes I show people the jab different ways, and then they end up doing it the right way, showing them how to do it, or the 1-2. Look at what they make up. Everybody's not tough. You got to glide them in. A lot of times in my gym workouts, and the kids will tell you now, if a guy better than a kid, I handicap him, say you only could use the jab. And a weaker guy or a lighter guy, I say you got both hands. I say you can do anything you want off your lead hand, your jab hand, but you can't throw the other hand. Then the smaller guy, or the guy not advanced, I say you got both hands, but you got to keep them up, stay behind the knee. You got to find what worked for one guy don't work for another guy. And I learned that from Georgie. Everybody's different. You got to find a way to make things work for them. And it takes patience and time. But the good thing about kids, the good thing about kids, the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, they listen better than the 18, 19, 20, 21s, 22, especially if you get them late, them older guys. They used to doing things their way. I remember I used to hate when I get a kid been with somebody else for 8 or 9 years, because if he do something wrong, it's so hard to get him out of it because he used to doing that. I'd rather get a kid that's green.
He's had success.
Yeah. I'd rather get a kid green and take my time with him. You know, and that's the difference. You know, another thing is coaches got to understand you can win some, you lose some, but take your time, protect your kid, show him good defense. That's important, keeping their hands up. Show him the basics, and he'll grow to his own if you take your time with him. But teach him good defense. The less he get hit, the better career he'll have.
For the kids who you would put in the towel for them in an amateur fight, and you notice they're overwhelmed, there's no good that can come out of this besides them getting hurt. What's the conversation at the, after the tournament's done? What do you say to that kid?
4 or 5 times I could name that happened to me. And I pull them to the side by themselves. Everyone be crying. I say, listen to me. 2 or 3 years, you're going to be able to hold your own with him. I said, he's better than you. He got more experience than you. We take our time. If you love this sport, you'll come back tomorrow. Say to yourself, couple months, I'll be able to get that guy or hold my own with him. And take your time. And I tell him, you did good, but he's just better than you. You're overmatched. It's my job to make sure you don't get hurt. And that should be everybody, coach.
It's got to be a hard thing for a kid to hear.
Well, the ones I had 4 or 5 guys,
I think,
and guess what? They all come back and got better. And I had one that quit. And it's funny about life. I had 3 or 4 kids that left the gym, not because of the boxing, but because of girlfriend. True story. I got one that just come back. Yeah, just come back in the gym, and he been out for about 4 months. I said, your girlfriend cut you loose, didn't you? Yeah, coach. She told me she don't like me no more. I say, I lost 5 kids like you. I say, I need to put a skirt on. If I put a skirt on, I might don't lose none of y'all. True story. That's a true story.
Women can ruin women, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but a woman can ruin somebody's dream without them even realizing it so quickly. Yeah. I've heard this story, not just in boxing, but my goodness, that's funny.
Yeah, it wasn't funny to me. I said, your girlfriend left you, didn't you? Yes, coach. You cried.
That's what happens. So when you have was David Reid your first professional fighter that you coached in the professional ranks?
No. Choo Charlie Brown. He won the IBF. Me and Fred Jenkins trained them together. And Rockin' Rodney Moore, Marvin Garris, all in won Pennsylvania state titles. They was ranked in the top 10. Charlie Brown won the first IBF for lightweight. And we fought.
That was when it became an actual sanctioning championship.
Yeah. And David Reid, I started training at 8 years old. And then he quit for about a year. Then he come back in. His mother brought him in, and I've been training him, you know. He's doing good now. He lived right up the street from me. Beautiful apartment and everything. But he was on 96 team, and it's crazy how life is. The coach clinic, Olympic coach told me they gave all the top 10 boxers in each weight class a sheet to pick out who they thought was a good coach in the Olympic. All of them had my name on it. And I remember I told Dave Loves, I said, don't put my name in there. I don't want to be an Olympic coach. And I heard he put my name in 96 head Olympic coach. I did 2 more Olympics, you know, but I didn't want to be the Olympic coach. Then it got down to 50, got down to 20. Then it got down to 10. They flew me into Colorado. And I remember telling Dave Loves, I said, I hope they don't pick me. Next thing you know, they picked me as the head coach. And it's crazy because my own boxer, David Reid, made the Olympic team. And when I judged the team, I picked him to get a bronze. I picked Carver that won the Pan American, won the Nationals, and won the World Championship that year. Only time that ever's been done, all 3 of them in the same year. I picked him to get the gold medal. I fought Zaire Rahim to get a bronze or medal. And I picked Fernando Vargas to get a gold or a bronze medal. You know, the Olympics, Amateur boxing, I don't care anybody say, is harder than professional. Monday, you got a Russian. Tuesday or Wednesday, you got a German. Thursday, you got a Cuban. Friday, you got a hanger. Pro, you know who you go fight 5 or 6 or 2 months or 3 months before. You know who you go fight. You got a chance to train and adjust for them. Those 3-minute, 3 rounds is a nightmare for a coach. And I did 3 Olympics, so I know.
How do you plan for those fights? Do you have an idea of who everyone's going to fight? Do you look at who the potential opponents are, or are you doing it just on the spot?
You look at the brackets. You know who each guy go fight. Late at night, I go and look at study their fights on the tape, write down how I'm going to box them, and get the athlete. We train for them. And we train for them. Now, sometimes the guy you think will win don't win another one. So, but you have a night to study the tape for it. And I remember during the Olympics.
How critical is? Oh, sorry.
I remember during the Olympics, I had them up. Each Olympic team I had up here in Marquette the first 5 weeks. The reason why, so we can run them down Lower Harbor, work on the strategy, take them swimming, workouts. And each team, all 3 Olympic teams, and Abdullah was the head coach the other, and we did the same thing. We got the team up here. Then we go into where they go fight at, Colorado, and then down Atlanta, we went the last month to get them acclimatized, used to the weights and the timing and everything. But I remember 96, I didn't never get over 3 or 4 hours sleep a day. I was so tired. And the break I got was the doctor that we had in 96. He said, Coach, go and get some sleep and check them out and everything. The physicals and everything, and check them out for you and everything. But I remember you had 2 sessions of boxing, a noon session and a night session. Then the noon session, I run and get the McDonald's or whatever there, get 3 or 4 sandwiches, eat them while I'm going back. And then 2 hours later, you got to fight the 6 o'clock session. Then after that session, you go and look at the brackets, who got to fight the next day, check the weights, make sure everybody no more than a pound before they go to bed, check their weights, and I get 3 hours of sleep or 4 hours, wake them up at 6 in the morning to check their weight and start all over again. Every day like that. So as a head coach, you ain't getting much sleep.
That must have been a good rest after the Olympics, right?
Oh my God.
You must have had the best sleep of your life.
My friend told me I slept. Oh, let me tell you what happened to me. In the Olympic Games down Atlanta.
Yeah.
After the Olympics was over, my own kid Dave got the gold, and all night to we going to see ESPN. I'm sorry, not ESPN, HBO, Showtime, media, everything. And it went to about 5 in the morning, I was able to go to my room, and get some sleep. The Olympic Games is over with. They told me 2 days later, the team left. They tried to wake me up and they couldn't wake me up. I slept for 2 straight days. I missed my ride to get on the train, to go back up, to get on my plane. 2 straight, they told me they tried to wake me up. But I remember 2 days later, I'm walking in the Olympic Village. Coach, great job and everything. But I remember the team went left. I was out of it.
I'm sure you've been asked this one before, but the one thing that sticks out in those Olympics, uh, Floyd. Obviously, it's generally accepted that he was robbed, right? Like he got a really bad deal. He was very emotional, after the fight. Was there anything you said to him after that fight? Was there
First,
a conversation that
yeah.
happened?
Let me tell a couple of things about Floyd. When Floyd fought the Cuban,
Yeah.
we studying the tape, and I say, Floyd, you can't box and move with this guy, or you ain't gonna get the decision. Now, Floyd was always box and move everybody. Now, I say, you gotta attack this Cuban because he's taller than you and rangy. Attack him. And I didn't know if Floyd could do that because he was a boxer and a mover. He fought the best fight, one of the best fights in the Olympic Games. I still remember the score: 1-1, 2-1, 2-3. They was tied back and forth, back and forth, back. And I remember the score was 8-8. But I remember Floyd caught him with a shot at the bell. I didn't even know if he got it. And when he got up and won it, one of the best fights in the Olympic Games. It was a fight that showed me, I say, whoa. I didn't look at that at first. I say, this kid can get the gold. So he's in the medal round. He guaranteed to get a medal, which he get at Browns. When he fought, I never was so mad in my life. I took a glove, and the referees that was sitting around, I threw the glove at one of them. And I got fined, I think it was $400. I remember that. And I hugged him. I say, listen. He was crying. I say, you won it, no question about it. I say, I know you could go pro now. I say, but your name is big now. I hug him. I say, hey, your father go be proud of you. I say, you did an unbelievable job. You won it, you just didn't get the decision. That happened in these games. But you won it easy. And everybody go remember this bout. So I hug him. I never forget that. And that's all you can do.
And wow. Was he? I mean, a lot of people have different opinions about him. He's a public character. He knows how. I'll always say this. He knows how to pull the strings to make money. Like he's so good at it. But who was he for all the money and all the accolades? Who was he as an amateur, as a kid?
I never had a problem with him at first, and feudal games and nothing. But he showed me when he fought the Cuban, he was a better fighter than I thought he was. I say to myself, before the fight, I say to myself, this could be a hard fight for him because he used to boxing and moving. And if he go to that, he's not going to win it. The first round, the first minute, I said, whoa, he's staying in game plan. He's fighting him. He's fighting him like a dog. And that's what he did. He stayed on top of the Cuban. And the score was, I never forget, I was having my heart, my head, and everything, because it was 1-1, 2-1, 2-3, back and forth. And he was making it. He fought a fight that he didn't fight before in the Olympics, even the nationals. And I said, whoa, he gonna be a hell of a pro. Because he didn't fight like he did in the amateurs. He didn't fight. He stepped up and fought the fight to win. It's the only way he could fight that Cuban. The Cuban was too long. And when you get a guy that come out the box, come out of character, which he did, I say, whoa, he's going to be a hell of a pro. And I hugged him and told him, I said, I know you could go pro now. Enjoy life, And you got robbed, and I'm going to let everybody know you got robbed. But you fought the fight of a lifetime. Fight one of the best fights in the Olympic Games, which he did. Toe-to-toe action. I took my hat off to him. I hug him.
And you get all of these fighters who, at an amateur level, are very established in order to make it on the Olympic team, and many of them you're working with for a while. I'm imagining, several of them. They come from other gyms all across the world. They have their own coach, whoever that may be. Was there ever was there ever any like challenge of an animosity from a previous coach when they have to give them up to the Olympic team where, you know, I don't know, it's the ego thing, right? Like they have so much pride in the work they've done. Now they join the Olympic team. Did that ever happen? Was there ever a dynamic of
Three,
that jealousy?
I seen it 3 or 4 times. I seen it happen. It happened to me, And I remember one coach, I was coaching 3 different teams, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 14. We had them come in different times in Colorado. One coach, I say, listen, I made stations. So one coach will work at station 1, another coach work at station 2, another coach works at station 3, another coach work at station 4. Next 2 days, I switch them. One that was at 1 go to 2. Then 1 go to 3. One every day, every 2 days, you at a different station. And I remember one coach come to me and say, I'm here just to train my boxer, no other boxer. I said, it's a teamwork. We're a team. You got to do it. Well, I'm not going to do it. And he called me out my name. So I go to the office. I say, send his ass home now. Well, why? And I explained it to him. So he had a kid in the gym. White kid was in the gym. So he went over to his kid and said, come on, we getting out of here. He said, I'm not leaving the camp. He said, I'm staying with coach. And boy, did the coach get mad.
Wow. I'd imagine.
Yeah. It's funny, back in Philly, when a kid come into your gym and wants you to train him, he trained at another gym. The golden rule is he have to have a letter from his coach saying that he want me to train him. And I had 8 or 9 guys brought notes from their coach. I called their coach up and asked him. He said, yeah, coach, this is the furthest I can take him. You doing a good job. And you going to Ohio State Fair and everything. The kid need to go. So I take the kid. I work with him. And I say, anytime you want it, you can come in. But I still know now,
Yeah.
guys I used to train tell me how they coach used to talk about me, didn't like me at first. And some of them still don't like me now. I never try to take nobody kid. That wasn't my thing. They all the boxers tell you. The Jermaine Taylors, the Vernon coach left us. He told me his coach only care about certain people. And see I train everybody the same. Some coaches, if they got a good star in the gym, they just want to look out for him and train him. The other ones, he don't care nothing about them. And I remember Georgie Benton said to me, he said, when you run a gym, you're only good as your weakest link. And it's funny how old timers tell you things and you don't get it for a couple years. But he used to say that all the time. You're only good as your weakest link. And I learned so much from him, Bowie Fisher, guys like that. I learned so much from them. I still appreciate and I thank them. And Emmanuel Stewart. I used to bring my guys from here, and then on the weekend, I'd go down to Detroit and spar with his guys and work with them. And we laugh and joke and talk. And he used to tell me all the time. He said,
What do you think?
go ahead. Emmanuel
Oh no,
Stewart.
you go ahead. No,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
interrupted you. I want to hear more.
Yeah, Emmanuel Stewart told me he loved the way I had the guys in school and getting degrees. He said he just can't believe that. And we got to be real good friends and everything. Great guy.
What do you think? It sounds like you took some stuff from Bowie, you took some stuff from Georgie, you took some stuff. It sounds like possibly from Manny here and there. What are the things they all did the same that you also do that you're like, this is to be a great at this for these kids and older fighters too? What are the things that have to be done a certain way, and what is that way?
Number one, they taught them good balance, good basics. Keeping your hands up, stand behind the knee, and working behind the number one punch. For 5 years, I ran a Chinese program, and they listened to me so much. And I remember training them. They say, what is the most important thing? I say, 1, 2, 3. 1, the jab. So I say, you want me to train the coaches and everything? How you say it? They say ER sound. E is the jab. R, straight shot. Sung, the hook. And I remember working with the basics and how everybody grow. And then 2 times we went against the U.S. team. I'm in the corner and we beat. So you can imagine what we're saying, But the
That's awesome.
old coaches,
Yeah.
Eddie Fudge, the old coaches from Philly, San Solomon, we had some great coaches back in Philly. Everybody taught the basics and stand working behind the jab. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Stand behind the knee, carrying your hands. And all the coaches show body shots. When I first come into, was going to in the national level, especially with the computer scoring, they didn't count body shots. So a lot of coaches got away from it. Not me. I remember Georgie and them guys learned me. I had them going with the jab to the neck, the head, and throwing that right or the left to the body. So you can open up and strike to the head for the straight shots to make it work. Matter of fact, I read something that one of the officials wrote that they need to use Al Mitchell more because he got guys going to body shots and his strategy's working. But the computer scoring wasn't counting body shots.
Spe-
But I still had my kids going to the body.
yeah, but guys also probably weren't expecting it.
Yeah. But keeping their hands up and teaching them the basic. Once they get the basic, keeping their hands up, stepping around, and then I used to make everything you do going to the left, you got to be able to go do it the other way, going to the right. So if you're right hand, it's your back leg, not your front leg, And if you southpaw, it's the opposite. But I tell them all, even in the gym now, everything you do going to the left. Now the proper way, I show them first, make sure. Once they get that, I say, now you got to do going the other way. The same thing. And I be over and over. And everybody say, Coach, that's hard. I say, well, you got to keep doing it. Because in top bouts, I had changed up and say, go the other way. This is too close. It changed the whole complex a lot of times in the fight. And even now
There are
today,
so many guys too.
yeah,
They don't realize the time will come.
that's right. And
They don't know the time's gonna come where, hey, this guy is beating you at your own game. You got to go the other way.
yeah,
You don't have another solution. You have to do it.
right. And the other thing I do in the gym, I handicap them. Say today you only could use the jab, or you only could use everything off the lead hand, jab, uppercuts, and hooks. You got to go to the right the whole round. Now this round you got to go to the left. Always handicap them to make them do different things so they can see. and be
How
patient.
do you train? This is something I was just reading about. I was gonna say, how do you train a fighter to get up from a knockdown? So he takes a big hit. He's able to get up, has to recover. How do you handicap him to be prepared for a situation like that? Because obviously you can't recreate it by knocking him down. Is
Every
there
one- yeah,
a way of doing that?
yeah. Every once in a while, I tell a boxer, lay down on the mat. Now you down. It's a funny feeling. If anything go wrong or nothing like that, take your time. Don't hop back up. Take your time. Then I show him fights. One of my favorite fights is when Dave in the gold medal round knocked the Cuban down. They had to stop the fight. But I told when I get him to watch that, if that kid went to hop right back up, because he hopped back, tried to hop back up and fell down. But if he took the count, he could have made it through the rest of it because that was the third round. He could have made it through and win the fight. But he hopped back up. That made him fall back down, and the ref had to stop the fight. Look at that. But I say, if he was smart, he would have
Yeah.
sat down there, look at the ref, look at where he count, then hop up 7 or 8. He tried to hop right back up after he got knocked down and fell down. Say those little mistakes cost him, because he was winning. He won every round. He was 15 points up. And the computer scoring, that's a knockout. I show him that fight all the time. They say, well, see what you mean. Then I had a couple other fights that I showed him that. How a guy get knocked down, he hop back up, and he don't give his body chance to recover. Now, if you hurt bad, you still just stay down. I've seen it happen a lot of times. And see, that bout, there's no way we could win because the Cuban was so far up on Dave.
Yeah.
I remember telling him 15 points in a row. Perfect example.
Now, when you when you now obviously you had some professional experience. It sounds like before even the whole entire Olympic team and all that. But what is the biggest difference going from amateurs 3 rounds to tournaments and everything that comes with it to focusing on one fighter? What is one big change that you have to make in coaching them?
Number one, I think I was blessed because I had world champion Choo Charlie Brown, Rockin' Rodney Moore. I had these guys was world champions before. Charlie Brown was our first world champion before our amateur champ. Boogaloo, the next year, Brian Jones won the 106-pound amateur title. So we was in that professional rank, and that helped a lot. Number two, amateur and professional is so different. I tell people, amateur is harder because you have one day to gauge. But pro, when you sign, you got 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, maybe 2 months before you box. So you have plenty of time to study and train for it. Like, I remember I had David Reid, and they wanted us to box this guy. He was a left hook artist. Matter of fact, they stopped him in the 4th. Simon Brown? I think it was Simon Brown. Dave knocked him out in the 4th round. But they asked me 3 fights before that fight for Dave to box him, fight him, pro. I turned it down. Why I turned it down? Simon Brown had a hell of a left hook, and Dave was eating left hooks in the gym. I knew he wasn't around for that. And then about 2 fights after that, Dave was catching the hook, keeping his hands up and everything. So 2 fights after that, I took on a Simon Brown fight. Sure enough, Dave, the 4th round stopped Simon Brown. As you knowing your athlete, especially I had Dave from a kid on up, so I know his weaknesses and his strengths. But I seen Dave was getting hit with a hook. He thought as he come out of amateur, he can just step to people. That's no way in the pro. And see, the pro business, an opportunity and chance. They hit harder, they sit down, and they're in for the long haul. When the first round or the second round, or you got to go for a knockout. You're not going to win the amateur fight. 3 rounds, 3 minutes. So it's a whole different.
Yeah.
But amateur is harder than pro because you don't have enough time to adjust for your opponent, especially on a national level. Now, sometime on a national level.
And you can't work on a weakness.
No. Big difference. Big difference.
You don't have the opportunity to say, "Oh, he's eating hooks. Yeah, let's adjust to it." Well, he's not going to learn it overnight.
No,
you got to teach this guy how to fight every style, and then go into a tournament and just hope that he's got everything he needs.
Yeah,
versus
right. Yeah.
working on a weakness or a strength for. That's so interesting.
Yeah, you got to teach him the basics, keeping his hands up,
so then,
good defense. Go ahead.
Why do you think the program in Michigan was so successful in Marquette? Not just obviously boxing wise, they all did very well, but for all of them to, these sound like kids who, if I'm being totally honest, didn't sound like they had a lot of hope or opportunity, even if they did become good at boxing. But then they became great men. What was it about the program that was so successful at helping so many kids become something bigger?
First, I got to show the little things that was weakness. When I first come in the program, we'll go to some boxing shows, and a guy might be from that state, and he'd be wishing for the guy. And I remember sitting all them down. And from any of y'all a team. Y'all will be like you in the Army. Y'all a team. Y'all go to war together. Sure, you from Washington or Philly or UC or New York, but y'all a team. All 13, 16 members, y'all a team. So y'all root for each other or don't say nothing. Keep your mouth shut. Because if I see that again, you're out of the program. Number 2, the teacher called me and told me 3 of my guys weren't coming in classes. So I went to school, I talked to the teacher. I got all my guys. I say, you miss a day from school, you won't go to a boxing tournament. I don't care how good you is or you number 1 or 2 or 3. You don't miss no school. And every one of y'all got to maintain a 2+2, a 2 point. That's a C. And I went to Bill Bergen, who was the superintendent that ran the school, and asked him, could I got a young lady that we had study hall. And I say, anytime your grades be low, you got to go to study hall, not to the gym. And every study hall, I had 1 or 2. And if they was on the borderline of 2.2, they had to go to study hall. And I tried to explain to them, their education is just important as they boxing. I say it's a 50-50. You screw up boxing, you're out of the program. You screw up going to school, you're out of the program. It's a 50-50 balance. You got to be good in both of them. And at 5 o'clock every morning, we run a 3-mile run. I remember some coaches wrote letters against me and said I was a drill sergeant up there, and that I had a whip beating the kids. You see, I heard all kind of stuff. But every morning, I don't care if it rained or snowed, they'll tell you. And LaChon Shepard, he got a degree in literature. He wrote a piece. It's one of the best pieces I read. People still talk about it. How he talk about how they run in 5 in the morning, and he said you keep running to keep warm so you don't freeze to death, you know. And he was so funny in it. Then you got to go to school, and then the study hall and everything. And if you fail school, you didn't go to competitions. He says not an easy program, but he said everybody learned to adapt. But a lot of people wrote letters against me and everything. And when the Olympic Committee see how good their grades was getting the third year, how good they was doing in school, and still doing in boxing. Matter of fact, the Olympic Committee put me in their Hall of Fame.
Were there? I saw that, and congratulations. Well deserved, as they should. I mean, you deserve that.
Yeah, I was shocked at that.
What did some of these kids? I gotta ask. Did some of these kids get to a point where they just maybe couldn't? I'm being honest here, like where they couldn't stand you. They're like, "Oh my God, I got one, D on a test, and now I can't box." Or it's waking us up at 5 a.m. Were there any kids who just were so frustrated, or did they all fall in line?
A lot of them. I remember a guy interviewed the kids. He said, "Don't nobody like you." He said, "Nobody like." He said, "The teachers like you." The other thing was, I had to go to court system because I had so many kids that go into Marquette High that was under 18. So the judge seen what I was doing.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to pay $25 each year for each kid. I had about 9 of them. So he called me into his office and only charged me $25 for everybody. And I had kids living on a college campus. And 94, I was coach of the year for USA Boxing, but I also was parent of the year at Marquette High. Parent of the year. My kids was getting good grades and everything, and all of them was underage, living on a college campus.
At what point do they decide? At what point do they decide that they love you? Because clearly they all loved you, right? So when does that happen? At what point in their tenure of going to Marquette and being coached by you do they turn that corner?
When I look on the internet, I'm not an internet person. And the crazy part of it is, I got 4 ministers in my family. All my brothers and sisters got degrees. I dropped out of school to 8th grade, hanging on the corners and it, And when my birthday came up, 300 and some kids hit me up every year. Wish me happy birthday, old man, what you doing? And I thank you for the things that you did. And I remember you came in my room and talked to me and so and so. I see some of the stories and I remember those things, And then I remember coaches wrote letters against me and their own kids went back and told them they wrong. Or they was at the Nationals and they had a meeting about me and all the kids stand up and told them what was going on and everything. That's it,
It's kind of the hard part about loving somebody too. Yeah, you have to have the hard conversations with them. You gotta, push them to become better, and teenagers don't like that very much, right? So I mean, that's the tough part of it. They have to be pushed sometimes. They have to be called out.
But I learned if you take your time, pull them to the side and say so-and-so, so-and-so, and talk to them, you'd be surprised. I look at all the kids got degrees and special jobs. And probably about 30 of them got their own gyms training people, you know. Matter of fact, Mike Vale is a white kid that I trained. And me used to laugh and joke and talk. And he said, Coach, you hard on me. Now he got a kid that fought well at the Nationals, lost in the championship, and he's sending him up here in a week or two so I can work with him. And he said, Coach, whatever you do, run him that run you used to make us do all the time. And if you want to get him up 5 in the morning like you used to do us, and run him that Little Harbor, and I'm going to do it. He'll be up here next week. But he's at number 2 at the Nationals.
And the program itself, your process has stayed the same all these years as far as the conditioning, the running, the grades, everything's still the same program?
Yes. But the program closed down. So I just got a gym. I opened up a gym just to train kids. And so far, one of the girls I trained going to Michigan to be a dentist.
Wow.
Trained. It's going to be an airline pilot. He's 16 years old.
A great school.
Yeah. Dentist. Merle. Another one, she's doing this job that put things on your roof that you can get different things and everything. She working on hands-on, and they paying her at the same time. And another 3 of them is in the service. They call me and hit me up. 2 of them is married and got 2 kids and doing great. The girl, Zhang, and the other
That's amazing.
in the service. And one was an airline pilot, and he's in Colorado, but he was in a car accident, so they got working doing something else to service and everything. But they all hit me up to see the stories. I be laughing and joking. And this is from when the program closed and I opened up my gym with the kids.
And still the success and the results are the same, even without the support of the program.
Yeah. I love what I'm doing, and I'm getting older. I take my time one day at a time, and I talk to the kids. And you'd be surprised how many kids I train, 13, 14, 15, and 16, that come to me and say, Coach, how do I tell my father this or that? How do I talk to my mother? I say, well, I tell the girls, talk to your mother. When you have a problem like this, talk to your mother. She gonna tell you what is right and what is wrong. And I got a young lady, she said, I hate school. So I call her mom. I say, I heard about this vocational program that pay the kids as they teach them. Now this girl is in her 2nd year and getting paid while she's doing it. And she love it. I got a picture with a helmet on and everything, and we laughing and joking and talking.
That's amazing. That is so amazing. What you've done is so far beyond, I think. It's bigger than the accolades, which are amazing. But what's really special is that's like the tale as old as time is like, can a coach help a kid become something in their life? And it sounds like that's the primary focus. It's such an incredible and beautiful thing that you've done for all these kids.
The thing about life is never stop thinking that the older you get, you can't do nothing. Because every year I learn something else. If you get older and stop learning, it don't help. I remember I was 14 or 15, and my mom opened up an employment agent, and she was running employment agent. She was a teacher at first and wrote employment. And I was about 14, I'm walking, and John that owned the corner store, and years later, I ended up opening that store, running it myself in Philly. But I remember I said, hey, John, And my mother slapped me. She said, little Fred, when you see people older, you say, Mister. If you do right, sooner or later, when you'll live to be old. So every year I think of that. My mom been dead about 13 years, but I still remember that slap. And she right.
That's so funny. You know something? My daughter, that's one thing I won't allow. I'm not trying to take some kudos here, but that's one thing I never tell her the first name of any of her friends' parents. I say that's Mr. Johnson. That's Mrs. Mrs.
Yeah.
Pfeiffer, whatever the last name is. I always teach her that, so she just knows it that way. I don't want her to ever think of it differently. But it's validating to hear you say that. That makes me feel like maybe I've done something correctly.
I remember USA Boxing sent me around to do clinics. And off the jump, I could tell the coaches that's go listen or want to learn. You got some coaches want to do things their own way. And I watch how I say what I say to them and everything. And I remember I had to test them my first 4 or 5 years. I never failed somebody. If I see they didn't pass, I bring them back to my room, sit down and show them what they did wrong, and I give them the answers and explain to them. I never failed nobody, you know? And especially if they got a gym, you want them to get back in that gym and work. And I remember sitting down with coaches, but off the jump, I could tell who want to learn, who want to do things their own way, And that's the thing. You should always have an open mind, And I still got guys, coaches that hit me up and call me, ask me, what should I do about so-and-so, so-and-so? I got a young man, he upstate New York. He run a gym up there, and he got computers that kids coming after the school and teach them. And he called me, he said, Coach, I've been trying to get this kid out of dropping his hands when he go right. And I say, guess what? You used to do that. He busts out. I say, yeah, you used to do that. He busts out laughing. I say, slap him once or twice, and he'll start keeping that hand up. I said, that's what I did to you. He said, I forgot that. And sure enough, he called me the next day. You should see the way he keep that hand up. And I bust out laughing. True story.
That is so funny. Awesome. Coach, it's been absolutely like an honor to have the opportunity to just learn so much from you. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for taking the time.